My child stopped talking to me, and I finally found out why. What happens when the person you love most, your own child, shuts you out completely? My child refuses to speak to me. I used to think silence was peaceful, that quiet moments in a home were a sign of comfort, of safety. But now, silence is the thing I fear the most. Because silence is all my son gives me. Ethan is 15 years old. Once upon a time, he was my shadow, chattering about dinosaurs, superheroes, the universe, anything that crossed his mind. He used to crawl into my lap with his picture books, beg me to read just one more, his small voice spilling over with laughter. But now, when I speak to him, he doesn't answer. When I ask how his day was, he shrugs. When I tell him I love him, he stares at his phone. Sometimes, he doesn't even look at me. It's like my own child has vanished, replaced by a stranger wearing his face. At first, I thought it was just adolescence. Teenagers get moody, they pull away, they crave independence. I told myself it was normal. But weeks stretched into months, and his silence grew heavier, thicker, until it filled every room of our home. I tried everything. Cooking his favorite meals, planning family outings, giving him space, trying to talk, trying not to talk. Nothing worked. His words, once endless, had dried up completely. The breaking point came one evening at dinner. My husband, Mark, asked Ethan about school. Ethan just pushed peas around his plate, his face blank. Mark sighed, muttering under his breath about teenage attitude. I tried to lighten the mood. Remember when you used to eat peas one by one, pretending each was a tiny planet? I said with a smile, hoping for at least a flicker of recognition. But Ethan didn't smile, didn't look up, didn't say a word. The ache in my chest was unbearable. "Ethan, please," I whispered, my voice cracking. "Just talk to me." He stood up without a word, his chair scraping against the floor, and walked out of the room. I wanted to follow him, to shake him, to demand to know what I had done wrong. But I sat frozen, staring at the empty chair, tears blurring my vision. Later that night, I went to his room. His door was locked. It had never been locked before. I knocked softly. "Ethan, can we talk? Please." No answer. I pressed my forehead against the wood, whispering through the crack, "I love you." Still nothing. That silence, it's worse than screaming, worse than slammed doors. At least anger is noise. At least anger means there are words left to say. Silence means you've already lost. The next day, I couldn't take it anymore. I called the school counselor, hoping she could tell me if something was going on, bullying, stress, anything. She lowered her voice, careful, professional. "Mrs. Carter," she said, "Ethan is doing well academically. Quiet, but polite. He doesn't cause trouble. But he did mention some tension at home." My stomach twisted. "Tension? What kind of tension?" She hesitated. He didn't elaborate. Just that he didn't feel comfortable opening up right now. Sometimes teens, they carry things inside they can't yet put into words. Her words were meant to comfort, but they only deepened my guilt. What had I done to make my son feel like he couldn't talk to me? That night, I stayed awake long after Mark went to bed, scrolling through old photos. Ethan with cake smeared on his cheeks at his 5th birthday. Ethan hugging me tight on his first day of school. Ethan laughing so hard milk came out of his nose. Where did that boy go? And how had I lost him? I finally crawled into bed, tears soaking my pillow. Just as I began to drift into restless sleep, my phone buzzed. It was a notification, an email. Curious, I opened it, and my heart stopped. It was from Ethan. The subject line, "Why I don't talk to you." The child finally reveals something, but in the form of a written confession, not spoken words. My hands shook as I clicked open the email. The glow of the screen lit up the dark bedroom, and each word carved itself into my chest like a blade. "Mom, I don't talk to you because every time I try, it feels like you don't really hear me. You hear what you want to hear. You talk over me, or you tell me I'm wrong, or you tell me how I should feel. So what's the point of talking? You and Dad fight all the time, and when I try to say how it makes me feel, you tell me I'm overreacting. I'm not overreacting. I just don't know how else to deal with it, so I stay quiet. At least when I'm quiet, nobody can say my feelings don't matter." I read the lines again and again, each one heavier than the last. My son wasn't silent because he was moody or rebellious. He was silent because he felt invisible. Tears streamed down my cheeks as I typed back, my words clumsy and desperate. "Ethan, I hear you. I'm so sorry. Please, can we talk about this? Not to argue, not to fix you, just to listen. I promise. I hit send and waited, my chest tight with hope and dread. Minutes stretched into hours, but no reply came. Finally, sometime near dawn, I drifted into a restless sleep. When I woke, Ethan was already gone for school. The email burned in my mind all day. I wanted to talk to him face to face, to hug him, to tell him I was sorry for every time I had made him feel small. But when he came home, he went straight to his room without a word. I knocked softly. "Ethan, can I come in?" Silence. "I read your email," I whispered through the door. "I understand now, and I want to do better. I want to listen. Please, just give me a chance." Still nothing. The ache in my chest deepened. That evening, Mark noticed my red eyes. "What's wrong?" he asked, his tone more annoyed than concerned. I hesitated, then handed him my phone with Ethan's email pulled up. He read it, his brow furrowing. When he finished, he scoffed. "He's being dramatic. He's a teenager. They all feel misunderstood." My heart clenched. "No, Mark. He's telling us he's hurting, that we're hurting him." Mark waved it off, grabbing a beer from the fridge. "You coddle him too much. He'll grow out of it." I stared at my husband, a realization dawning like a bitter sunrise. Maybe Ethan wasn't just shutting me out. Maybe he was shutting us out, because we had failed him together. That night, I tried again. I slipped a note under Ethan's door. "I'm sorry I haven't been the mom you needed. I want to change that. If it's easier for you to write than to talk, I'll read every word. I just don't want to lose you." The next morning, the note was gone. In its place was a folded piece of paper. I unfolded it with trembling hands. Ethan's handwriting was messy but clear. "If you really want to listen, then listen to this. I hate it when you and Dad scream at each other. It makes me feel like the house isn't safe. I feel like you only notice me when I'm doing something wrong. I feel like I'll never be good enough. And when I try to tell you, you just say that's life or don't be so sensitive. But I'm not too sensitive. I just need you to care." I pressed the paper to my chest, sobbing. Every word was a mirror, reflecting the ways I had failed him without realizing it. Later that evening, I tried again to talk. I knocked gently. "Ethan, thank you for your letter. I hear you. I want to change. Will you help me understand how?" There was a pause, then the faint sound of his voice. Hoarse, quiet, but real. "I don't know." It was the first word he had spoken to me in weeks. Just 3 small words, but they cracked the silence open. My throat tightened. "That's okay. We can figure it out together. You don't have to know everything right now." For a moment, I thought he might say more, but then footsteps retreated, and the door remained closed. Still, that single phrase, "I don't know," echoed in my heart like a lifeline. But the fragile hope shattered 2 days later when I got a call from the school. Ethan had been in a fight, and when they told me what he said to the other boy, my blood ran cold. Ethan's silence wasn't just about home. His pain was spilling into the outside world, and the truth of how deep it went is about to be revealed. When the school counselor called, her voice was calm but heavy. "Mrs. Carter, there was an altercation today. Ethan got into a fight with another student. No serious injuries, but something he said concerns us." My grip on the phone tightened. "What did he say?" She hesitated. "He told the other boy, 'At least your parents don't hate each other.'" The words pierced straight through me. My legs gave out, and I sank into a chair, shaking. Ethan hadn't just been shutting us out. He'd been drowning in our chaos. When I arrived at the school, Ethan was sitting outside the office, arms crossed, eyes glued to the floor. He didn't look at me. On the drive home, silence filled the car. My throat ached to speak, but I didn't know how to begin. Finally, I whispered, "Ethan, I'm sorry. For the fighting. For making you feel unsafe. None of this is your fault." He shifted slightly, his jaw tight, but said nothing. At home, Mark exploded. "A fight? Really? That's what you've been doing while sulking in your room? Do you know how embarrassing this is?" Ethan's face darkened. He stood, fists clenched. For the first time in weeks, his voice rose, sharp and raw. "Do you even care why I fought? Or do you just care how it looks to you?" The room froze. Mark opened his mouth, then shut it, his face red with anger. Ethan stormed upstairs, slamming his door so hard the walls shook. I turned on Mark, fury boiling in my veins. "Can't you see? He's begging us to notice him, to care. And all you do is make it about yourself." For once, Mark didn't argue. He just looked away, shame flickering across his features. That night, I sat outside Ethan's door again. My voice trembled, but I forced the words out. "You're right. We fight too much. We've made this house feel unsafe, and that's on us. But I don't want to lose you, Ethan. I don't care if it's hard. I'll sit here every night until you believe me when I say, I love you. And I want to hear you. All of you. Even the parts that hurt. There was no reply. Just silence. But for the first time, the silence didn't feel like rejection. It felt like he was listening. Days passed. Ethan stayed quiet, but little cracks began to form. He left his door open a few inches. He ate dinner at the table again, though he barely spoke. He lingered in the living room when I watched TV, headphones around his neck instead of in his ears. It wasn't much, but it was something. Then, one evening, I found another note on my pillow. I don't know if I can talk to you yet, but I'm trying. Please don't give up on me. I pressed the paper to my chest, tears streaming down my face. My son was reaching out, not in words, not fully, but enough to tell me he hadn't shut me out forever. Months later, the change was slow but steady. We went to family therapy. At first, Ethan sat in stony silence, arms crossed, eyes on the floor. But session by session, his walls lowered. He admitted how scared he felt when Mark and I argued, how invisible he felt when I brushed off his emotions, how lonely he felt inside his own home. It broke me, but it also gave me a chance to rebuild. One evening, after therapy, Ethan lingered in the kitchen while I cooked. He leaned against the counter, fidgeting. Then, softly, he said, Mom. My heart leapt. I turned, trying to keep my voice calm. Yes. His eyes flickered with uncertainty. Can you drive me to practice tomorrow? Dad usually does, but I'd rather go with you. It was such a simple request. But to me, it was everything. My throat tightened, and I forced a smile. Of course. For the first time in what felt like forever, he smiled back. Small, fragile, but real. Silence still lingers in our house sometimes. But now I understand it. It isn't rejection. It's a space my son sometimes needs. A space I need to respect. And when he's ready, he speaks. And when he does, I listen. Not with answers, not with corrections, but with open ears and an open heart. Because I almost lost him to silence. And I'll never make that mistake again. The child's refusal to speak was never about rebellion. It was about pain, invisibility, and the desperate need to be heard. Rebuilding trust takes time, but even silence can be a step toward healing if met with love.